Welcome back to Severe MMA. My name is Ian O'Neill, and today I'm joined by SBG Cork's Ryan Spillane. Ryan is a 2018 IMMA World Champion. He fights on July 25th on Levels Fight League 2 against Slim Trabisi. Ryan, how are you doing today, my man? Thanks for joining up with us today.
I'm great. Thanks, Beyond. I've actually never been on a Severe MMA podcast. It's my first one now.
Well, there you go. You broke your duck today. First of many, I hope.
Hopefully.
Ryan, how hungry are you right now to make your pro debut? It's been a while. You know, you've had a couple of fights pull out and stuff like that. You haven't been competing all that much since the World Championships in 2018. You've been working like an absolute dog. I've been seeing you on Instagram and stuff. How hungry are you to get in there and get going on your pro debut?
I'm very excited because it's been a long time coming, but like this last year of training, so since the Oceanic fight, I've done such incredible things. Like the sparring partners, like I thought in my head last year around kind of like October, like I thought I was ready for the pro debut, and I would have been, and I would have killed most pros, you know. But that extra bit then of, you know, second kind of third lockdown here in Ireland made me as a fighter, you know. Like first lockdown like completely changed me, and I was at already another level, and then the little kind of last 8 months I've had now has made me even more of a fighter. And like the Ryan that you're going to see next week is a completely different Ryan, and it's a scary Hulk. I'm going to do some damage to this fella now.
Nice. So what was your experience like training through COVID? How did you adapt to the regulations? Did you have to change up your training all that much? Or what was your mindset throughout the whole pandemic? You know, it must have been frustrating for you not to be able to kind of get going in your pro debut and stuff like that with the numerous amount of hurdles that you had to deal with. But what was your mentality like during that time? What was your training like? Just talk us through that period of time.
The big one for me was during lockdown number one. I took a big emphasis on strength and conditioning. It was after listening to Frank Mir when he came to Cork back in 2020, kind of around February-ish. He was on about how he uses strength and conditioning more for the longevity of his career. He just put out that yesterday was his pro debut was 20 years before that. So like a long time in MMA, and he was going on about how he used strength and conditioning as a longevity tool, and especially for heavyweights, because he was speaking as one of the best heavyweights there ever is. So I took that advice fully on board. So when I came back from my fight in Australia, I took on a new strength and conditioning coach. It's Bua Fitness. It's one of my buddies, Greg. He's actually one of my sparring partners for this camp as well. And I took a big emphasis on strength and conditioning. So it was building that foundation. So the lockdown, most people write it off. They were like, oh, Joe, 2020 was a waste of a year. For me, I use that to build an absolute solid foundation to where in my camp now, I don't have to, do as much strength and conditioning. It's all about tipping away at the strength levels I've already built. It was really kind of powerlifting, weightlifting orientated for the first half. And now it's more about tipping over. Even now, like, I'm not lifting as much heavy weights because I already have that strength. It's just keeping that strength there. Obviously, then for martial arts side of stuff, it was difficult because sometimes we were allowed to train. We came out of lockdown number one, we were allowed to train again. Then lockdown number two hit, and we were allowed to train then because we were myself and Pal were professional athletes. We had that kind of that bubble where we were allowed to train. Then kind of lockdown three, it kind of got a bit weird, and we kind of were training, we weren't training. I was lucky enough to be able to go up to Dublin 2 weeks ago and kind of finish out my camp as well, because obviously the gym there is full of professionals, so they're all in their little bubble. So I was able to help Johnny Walker. He's the start of his camp. I had spars with Will Flory. I had spars with Trevor McKengo, and some awesome guys. But obviously I sparred top 15 light heavyweight in the UFC. And confidence there is absolutely through the roof, because if I'm doing well with him and I'm able to do stuff on him, a guy who has 2 MMA fights is going to be nothing to me. You know, most
right,
heavyweights will be nothing to me.
That would have been with Johnny Walker. Was that right? You did a bit of work with him up at SBG. Yeah, so nice. I
was start of his camp. He's now in camp for Santos fight, so I started off that. And obviously, when I finish this and kind of have my week off, 2 weeks off, I'll go back up to Dublin and I'll help him prepare for his fight then.
Nice.
So
that's
training with those
nice
guys
to have him there.
So training goes that, and then I also had a big addition to my camp at the start of the year. I had a professional Cuban boxer. His name is Mike Perez, and I did a couple of spars with him. And I think I did about 3 spars with him, and those 3 spars have been the best spars I've ever had in my life. Like, the man is an absolute genius when it comes to boxing. Like, he was taking it more easy on me, and he was still able to knock me out, and still able to put me under savage pressure. And the little skills I learned from him, from his like countless amateur fights and countless professional fights, was amazing as well. So lockdown was tough, but I just kept grinding, and like, I could have wasted away. I could have done nothing like a lot of people, but I was like, this is a year of opportunity for me. I can push my body to new levels, learn countless more skills, and I'm very happy with the fighter I've become coming out of lockdown and coming out of the last year, let's say.
It's something that the guys have spoken about, and we've spoken about too a little bit, like that one-on-one training that a lot of fighters might not have gotten if this pandemic didn't hit. And like you said, it's making the best of a bad situation. But like, I know for me, looking back and looking forward to seeing you fighting everybody else that's come out of this pandemic with that extra one-on-one training, I'm sure that helped quite a bit during that time too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like the fighters that use this time well, it'll be seen. Like, like, you'll see the fighters who took the time off and wasted the year, and you see the fighters that didn't waste this year.
Yeah, 100%. Ryan, talk to me about Bellator. What happened with that situation? You were signed up with Bellator. You were calling out everybody under the sun. You were obviously trying to get a fight there. It didn't materialize, and then last week the news broke that you were no longer with the promotion. So talk to me about that experience. What happened? Was there fights offered, or they not offering you fights? Talk to me about that whole situation.
So the last kind of obviously I wanted to fight on the cards that happened in Europe last year. There was the October card. I was just fairly. There was too new. And there was a lot of guys above me on the pecking order that needed their fights first. Guys that were on contract that needed to get those fights in. So I fully understand how I didn't get the fight for the Milan and Paris shows. Then when 2021 hit, I was looking for a fight. I was also on the backside trying to get a visa to America as well, because we believed that if I had an American visa, then I would be more applicable to them. Obviously, again, we were waiting for stuff to come back to Europe, because obviously when they signed me, it was more of as a European fighter than an American fighter. But I saw lads were getting fights, so I was like, I'm going to try to get my visa. It was absolutely impossible to get a visa. Just literally, the process is so awkward, especially during lockdown. It was just very hard. I found out about 3 weeks ago that I was released. It was mainly my contract had run up, and they're not in Europe, so they don't see a point in having European fighters. So that's the reason I was released. Any other person would take that as bad news. For me, then it was uncontrollable. There was nothing I could do about that fact. Obviously, I'm fairly upset that I couldn't make my pro debut with them, and I couldn't have my 3 fights that I had left in my contract. But that's gone. Whatever. I've completely moved from that side. The big news, obviously, I signed this yesterday or the day before, was with my new management company, MTK. And with them, I fully believe that like there's way more opportunities for me, whether that be in 3 fights time, I'm in line to fight in Contender Series, or maybe PFL, or even back with Bellator, or like I could fight anywhere now. Like Paz over in Kabacha Global right now, that could be a show for me.
Yeah, it was one of the questions I was going to ask.
I've always been at.
It was one of the questions I was going to ask you there, Ryan. Was that like where do you see yourself going? You signed with MTK and stuff like that. What do you like? Has been a little bit of controversy surrounding MTK and stuff. But what do you think that management company will bring to you as a fighter?
I've known Carol. So Carol's the head of MTK and of the MMA side. He's based in Dubai. I've known him ever since he ran a show in Dubai. Myself, an Icelandic fella, Colin Maher, Azael, and D Begley all fought in that card. And ever since that show was about 2 years ago, I've been very good friends with Carol. And then the news broke that he was with MTK. I was kind of always in talks to him about kind of doing it. And just because of the whole Bellator thing, I felt it was the right decision for my career. And along with Liam and Marlene, we all felt it was the right decision, as they can open way more doors, because like obviously if Liam is pestering like Bellator or a UFC, it's not going to sound as well as if MTK have 4 or 5 guys pestering him, and it comes from a management company. I've had loads of management companies reach out to me in the period of time since I've signed with Bellator and since I've crossed over to like from winning the 2018 Worlds, but I never really wanted to sign with any of them. when MTK offered to me, I want to sign with him. I know Karen very well. I believe he's doing massive things in the MMA world right now, and MTK on the MMA side stuff. I know they're already huge in the boxing side of combat sports, but now they're pushing more into MMA, and I believe it was a complete right call. And the opportunities I can have now with them, especially since I'm a free agent and I can fight anywhere, and because of my style, I realistically I'm going to be fighting 3 times, 4 times for the end of the year. I wanted 3-0, 4-0 before 2022. I'm an active fighter. It was my whole amateur career. I'm not a fella to go in there and getting brawls. I like finishing the job fairly quickly and without getting damaged. So finish this fight fairly quickly, have another fight maybe around August, September, November, and then you're looking at me 3-0, 4-0 before next year,
100%. You mentioned there briefly that, your teammate Pat Lahan has headed on over there to compete in Combat Global. Just wondering, where do you foresee your MMA career going, Ryan? What path do you want to go down? Obviously, no bridges have been burned if you were to return to Bellator or something like that. Would that be something that would interest you? Do you have your eyes on other promotions? Is the ultimate goal the UFC? I'm just wondering, what's your goal in MMA? What you want to achieve in the sport?
I want to fight the best guys. So it doesn't matter where they put me, as long as I'm fighting the best guys they have. If it's with a show like KSW, who have a huge MMA scene, PFL have some amazing heavyweights. Obviously, you have the UFC, and that's obviously everyone's end goal is they want to eventually fight in the UFC. Bellator, you have one championship. There's loads of shows there. I'm at a point now where it doesn't matter where my career goes, as long as I'm fighting the best heavyweights and I'm showing how capable I am to put it up against them and beat them very well. And because of my amateur career, I've fought the best guys in amateur. I now want to fight the best guys at pro. And obviously, I have to work my way up to that. I'm a newbie right now in the pro scene. I haven't made my pro debut. But when I fight next week, you'll realize that I'm not a normal 0-0 guy. Like, for example, the fellow fighting Slim, he has one amateur fight, one pro fight. He obviously has his whole, Olympic background scene and all that. But I have 20 amateur fights in my name. And they're against the best of the best guys. So the fella I had before this, he was 3-1 as an amateur, and then 2-0 as a pro. Again, that's no fights. That was my first half of my career. That's when I started learning my stuff. And then I had my whole breakout in 2018. Where my career goes from here, that's literally I'm not. You can't like. The whole last year, I was always saying, Joe, was Bellator. So I was signed there, and I was signed, Joe. That was a contract, and I was extremely happy to have that contract. But now, since I'm out free, it opens up way more opportunities. That's why when I got this news, it may have seemed like bad news, but to me, it was great news because now it opens up way more opportunities. It could be a situation where September hits around and Bellator re-sign me. Then I'll say yes to that. Whatever the path opens, I won't say no to it as long as I'm fighting the best guys.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good attitude. You're back in 2018. You did win the World Championships. You spent a lot of time under IMMA, I guess, and coming up through the ranks there. How much do you think that is going to benefit you coming into your pro career? I know that you have an extensive amateur career. You have many fights under your belt, almost 20 fights under your belt. How, like, as a fighter, a young fighter, if you see any other young fighters that might want to be watching this, like, how important do you think it is to come through the ranks at IMMAFs, to build yourself as a fighter, get that experience as an amateur before you move in over to the pro ranks? What's the most beneficial thing that you would say you got from that experience?
Like, IMMAF is the exact, like, that's the pathway to go. You do your IMMAF tournaments, you have your local shows here and there, just experience like crowds and all that. But the IMMAF shows the way to go. If you want like examples, you can look at the pro scene right now. You have Mohammed Makayev, you have Kieran Clark, and you have Danny Nealon, all IMMAF veterans who've literally pushed over to the pro scene, and they're making the guys they're fighting look like absolute nothing. Like Kieran Clark, Danny Nealon, and Mohammed's last fights, they look like they were fighting nobodies. But these are experienced guys. There's experienced guys at the pro scene, not in the amateur. Pa, for example, now Pa's fighting a guy, his first fight against a fella, he's 8-2 and won no contest. That's a huge pro record. But Pa's fought the best of the best. Pa took if you look at Pa's amateur record, it doesn't look great. Like, mine looks terrible as well. But we fought the best of the best guys. Like, you can literally look through Pa's record and you'd be like, that was a tough fight. That was a tough fight. That was a tough fight, There was no
Yeah, I
easy
think
fights
like
there.
for me anyway, you know, I don't like take too much heed into like what anybody does at an amateur level. Obviously, if you can go through that undefeated, it's a good thing. But no, the losses, and like every fighter would say, a loss, you learn more from a loss than you will from anything else. Like, and to get those losses, it's better to get them in an amateur level rather than waiting and moving over to pro too early and learning a few things about yourself there. And it seems that like you're a prime example of someone who's done it in the correct manner and getting to the next level. And that leads us on to your first pro fight, which you've been waiting quite a while, July 25th against Slim Trapezi. How do you see that fight going, Ryan?
We obviously, Slim is a whole new opponent, and we had a game plan obviously for Romick. Game plan doesn't really change. Like I was kind of through my whole career, it's never been like I've planned specifically to fight one person. It's always been enhance my skills. Obviously, I take certain things away if I fight certain guys, but because of the IMMA circuit, I never could have planned for fight any guys because there was 25, 30 guys in most divisions. You know, I couldn't plan a plan for every single one of them because it's pointless. We literally planned on the night or on the day who I was going to fight and how I was going to fight. So going to this fight, Slim is obviously an incredible wrestler. He was won the African Open or something like that and qualified for the Olympics. I think he never went or whatever. And obviously then he's training with Cyril Gain. Obviously sparred Nagano at one point. So he's from a really high level gym. That's great, whatever for him. But he only has a certain amount of ways to win. I see two ways that he has two skills to win this fight. I have countless skills to win this fight. Wherever this fight goes, I feel I'm just way better than that. You know, he's obviously a very good opponent and all that, but I'm going to make him look like he's absolutely nothing. And I make him look like if you look at my last fight, I fought Dane Elchin, and an incredible MMA fighter. He was I think he was undefeated going into the fight against me. He was an Australian champion. He went over to IMMA tournaments too. He had a boxing record as well. And I made him look like he was nothing. You know, he's a really experienced fighter. And as he fought on after the fight, you can see how good he was. When he fought me, he looked like absolutely nothing. And that's what I've done for most of my career is make the guys I fought look like nothing. And I'll make Slim look like he's a complete amateur in the cage because compared to me, he has 2 fights. I have 20. I have the way more experience than him. He's still learning his craft. I understand how I fight and how I'm going to win this fight because I've experienced it already.
Do you have your eyes set on anything else after this fight, or is it just the blinkers are on, you're concentrating on getting this fight done and then just thinking about the next one after that, taking a break and then getting back to it? Or what's the plan? You're looking to say you wanted to go maybe another once or twice this year. Would the ultimate goal for 2021 is to have 3 fights under your belt?
Oh, I absolutely have 3 fights before the end of the year. If I can get 4, get 4. I'll finish this fight. I'll have a few days off and then I'm back into, I don't call it fight camp. I'm back into training. It becomes a fight camp when you get an opponent. But like I'm always training as hard as I always am because this is my job now. You know, I'm a professional athlete now. I got to train like one. So you look at guys like in the NFL or you look at professional rugby players. They're training all the time because that's their job. This is now my job. So I'm never going to be in a fight. I'm never going to do the whole thing of a 12-week fight camp takes 4 months off. 12-week fight camp, 4 months off. 12-week fight. That's not me. I love training. I enjoy training. I'll always be in a gym. That's kind of down to my management company now to find fights. But I'll fight wherever it is next. It does not matter where it is. It could be in my back garden. I'll have a scrap. I just want to fight and I just want to rack up the fights.
100%. Tell us this. I seen you there on the IMMA YouTube channel there doing a bit of presenting. Is that something else in the works? If the fighting doesn't work out, you might try make it as a TV presenter. Hey, what are your thoughts on that?
We'll make it as a TV presenter anyway because my bloopers flat are way better. I had to read off the teleprompter, and I was nearly controlling the teleprompter as well.
I was talking to Liam about that. I was talking to Liam about that, and he said the blooper reel is definitely worth releasing at some stage for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not that kind of stuff. If we're looking at what what Cormier's doing or Bisman, I could do that. I can talk for Ireland. I can talk all day about fights. So maybe if I do something like that could be the career afterwards. But definitely not reading stuff off. I once did a promo shoot. The footage never got released. Something happened between it, whatever, and I had to read off my name. So I had to go, my name is Ryan Spillane. And we had about 200 takes of it because I just was like, I had to look up and look back up, and it was absolutely terrible. I'm getting better at it though. I'm doing more and more stuff. Joe, I was in a Netflix TV program there like 2 years ago. I have no lines in it, but like, Joe, I'm getting better at being on camera, and I've done like 7 interviews this week now, so I'm getting better talking. It's just all about getting practice. But yeah, I'll never do reading off teleprompter and talking again. That was absolutely horrendous.
Nice one. Well, Ryan, just before I let you go and give you your shout outs there now, you can see Ryan fighting on the 25th of July, Levels Fight League. How can we watch that, Ryan? How can we watch that fight?
It's on Fight TV app. So, I think it costs like €10 on that, but you have to go through the app to buy it because they're streaming it. So
yeah, 100%. And if you give just a direct, quick 1-sentence prediction on how you think the fight with Slim will go.
It'll be a show. It'll be an exciting one. I'm not going to give any secrets of game plans or anything, but it'll be a spectacle.
No giveaways, fair play. So and that's it. That's all I have for you, Ryan. It was great talking to you today. I wish you the best of luck on July 25th, Levels Fight League. You can watch it on Fight app. €10, $10, whatever you call it, is well worth fucking tuning in and seeing Ryan fighting. He's one of the top up and coming prospects coming in Irish MMA right now. I'm looking forward to seeing you fight. Any shout outs, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to, your social media handles, dish it all out, Ryan. So the floor is yours, my man.
The social media handles for Twitter and Instagram are both Ryan Spillane MMA. And if I'm going through my sponsors, I'll give you a big list of them here now. So you have SPG Cork City. They're looking after everything. Liam Mara, like my absolute job. They're like my second parents. I have Bua Health and Fitness, who are looking after my strength and conditioning side of things. I have Here's Health and Ross Nutrition, both looking after my supplements. Elite Sports Recovery, looking after taking care of my body and making sure I can train and fight. McCarthy Cycle and Malaro Motors were lucky enough to fund me for this camp and make sure I'm able to train and fight. I have Wimp the Warrior, which is one of my new ones, which is absolutely huge, having been a brand ambassador for a global organization as big as that. So and then I have Alpha Caveman looking after all my gear.
You're being well looked after anyway, fair play. You can see Ryan fighting, like I said, on July 25th, Levels Fight League on the Fight app. Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Sure, we'll talk again down the line. And thanks for everybody for listening. And I will see you the next time.